Hi, it's nice to see all of you here, and thank you for taking the questions. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. We just like to present a little bit of the research that's been done recently about something called the third digital divide. And I think you may have all heard about the digital divide before. To begin with, it was mostly defined about who had access to technology. And then the second digital divide was very much about the skills to use the technology. But now we're moving toward the third digital divide, or the third level of the digital divide, which talks about the implications for people's everyday lives offline, even though they have access to technology and the skills to use it. So there was an assumption made about the two worlds apart, the difference between the young versus elderly people, or older people, being too simplistic, and that there are other factors like gender, education, and socioeconomic status that still play an important role for the use of technology. And among older adults, it's been shown that internet use is a male-dominated activity, and men engage more in individual recreation activities, whereas women turn to more social activities. And so as more information services and social activities go online, we see that the implications for society are greater. And there's some research by Van Dusen and Helsper that ask who is really affected the most. So I'm going to invite all of our panelists to just give me a one-word answer on this, a yes or a no to the big question: is the digital divide between young and older people increasing or decreasing? I think we'll start with you, Laura, because you're on my side there. One word. Is it is it increasing? Yes or no?
I believe no.
And Giletta, is the digital divide increasing? Yes or no?
Yes.
Frosty?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay. And Elsa? You're muted, Elsa. I'm guessing you said yes, but you are muted. Okay, then we'll go with Laura. Yes. Why do you think? What do you think is causing the increase in the digital divide?
I was saying that actually the divide between younger and older are decreasing.
You think no?
Yeah, I think
okay,
no.
Sorry. Okay, so you all said no. Sorry.
Yes. So yeah, I believe it's decreasing because the access to internet, people are getting more access to internet, and even older generations are starting to use simpler social media platforms. They are using that, as this research also shows, that it cannot be this digital divide cannot be divided only between the age groups. There's also lots of other things that that divide people, and in other aspects, I think the digital division is increasing. But when we look at the generation, then no, it's decreasing. Yeah.
Okay, and Elsa, what was your answer? We didn't hear you. You were muted. Do you think the digital divide is...
You know, it's increasing. If we think of
it's increasing?
Yeah, if we think of accessibility, okay, so there won't be probably in the future no difference. It's like reading, printing press and reading. Everybody reads, but what everybody does with the reading. And there are differences among us now at this moment. So this is the problem.
And what do you think is causing it to increase, the speed of it?
You know, it's the elderly retire. They are not at work. They don't study. They have other learning habits. They focus more on formal learning. Whereas the younger generation, they are into intuitive, informal learning. And, you know, even socialization, these socialization habits are different.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. I'm going to have to ask you to keep the answers a little bit brief now, because we're kind of on overtime. But thank you very much. It's good to get the two different perspectives from one of our younger panelists and one of our more mature panelists, we can say. Okay, the next question. Do you see any differences between genders when it comes to the digital divide? Are women more like a fine wine than men, for example, getting better with age? Frosty, what do you think?
I think there are many layers to these answers, because it depends on what we're looking at, like specifically. So in terms of like some platforms, we see older women and women in general being more active users.
What kind of platforms would that be?
Well, I would say if I look at the numbers in Iceland, for example, women are way more active on Instagram than men, for example. But then we have, globally, men are more active users on Facebook. So I think it depends on what exactly are we looking at, and which platforms are we looking at, and what activities are we looking at. So it's we can ask like a very simple question to say, is the gap increasing or decreasing? We have to be specific about what exactly we're talking about. But there are definitely behavioral differences in terms of some platforms, comparing some platforms and gender usage. But I think overall our behavior and online activities are just becoming more fragmented, so to speak. We're doing more and more of so there's probably not a simple answer to it, but no. That would be one explanation.
Okay, Elsa, what do you think about the gender differences? Do you have any observations?
In Romania, theoretically speaking, there is no difference. Of course, women are more health conscious, whereas men are more into news. So this is one of the differences, but it is related to culture. And I'm thinking now of Roma people, whose young people are encouraged to marry young, and I mean girls, and abandon school. So when it comes to such, groups, there is a gender divide.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Interesting. Okay, we'll move on from genders to the importance of the digital divide. Is this digital divide important, or should we maybe just accept that some younger people are different from older people and have different needs, and men are different from women and their needs that they have in everyday life? Those differences also transfer over maybe to social media differences, or do we need to do something about this? Gilette, I'll go with you for this question.
Thank you, Clare. Yes, in my opinion, digital divide is very important, and definitely we have to do something about it. And as I said before, this kind of divide is more or less age-related. And therefore its growth widens the generation gap. And to reduce this gap, I think that we need mutual efforts, I mean from all generations, because we all together are going to live on that digital world and to make it better for us all to live together. So we should go on this two-way street, facing each other and knowing each other, so that we could know each other's needs, traditions, and ethics. And that's all that I could say on this question.
So by sharing with each other and learning each other, we can bridge the divide. Yeah, like in real life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Laura, would you like to add something to what Gilette said, or do you have another opinion about that? Why is the digital divide important?
Yeah, I completely agree with Gilette that the divide is important, and that these different generations, we need to support each other to make this gap smaller, so that we could help each other about using social media.
Yeah, great. Okay, the next question. Have you noticed any products that help to bridge the digital divide? Laura, we'll just stick with you there, and then we'll go to Frosty for for his opinion.
I think like these different digital media platforms help people are using them more and more to connect, and not only to connect, but for work and entertainment. And I think those also like help to not to bridge this digital divide, because almost everyone any age group starts using these platforms.
Thank you. Frosty, have you seen any new products on the market to help? I'm thinking maybe help make older people more able to access technology?
I mean, I think the progress we're seeing in technology in general is the strive is to make it more user friendly. So and that means, you know, it's more accessible and more usable. But I think we can also not take it for granted that people will find it by themselves just to start to use these things out of nowhere. So sometimes we need to address that proactively. So that's also something of an importance to encourage people to start using it. And, you know, I remember when, you know, the internet and the whole .com, you know, kicked in, people were terrified. A lot of people were lost. You know, they didn't understand. But once they had the opportunity to actually get some hands-on experience or hands-on training and see the benefit, then that helps them to leap forward and narrow any gaps or any divide there may be between generations or genders, or even if it's cultural gaps.
Yeah, so it's kind of like onboarding people to the technology, not just one product, but getting people, like training them into it gradually, a little bit like what Elsa was talking about with the online teaching.
Absolutely, and we should also not forget that majority of the online products, they fail. They never reach the masses.
Yeah.
So,
true. Yeah, Laura, did you want to say something there?
No.
Okay. We'll go on to the next one. Thank you. Yeah, I think you were hitting a little bit on this, Elsa, so I think I'll go to you with this one. How's the digital divide influenced by economical and educational inequality between generations? But then you were also talking between cultures. Could you expand a little bit about that?
You know, there is a French sociologist and philosopher, Pierre I forgot his name, Bourdieu. My French, pardon my French. Okay. Okay, and he said that the economic and educational capitals, resources one has, are the cause for inequality between people. And, you know, these are also applicable to the technologies, the modern technologies, because if you have the economic capital, you can have access to the internet and so on, and you can improve your skills and so on. And the internet also influences your economic status, because if you have access to internet, you can find better jobs, you can get into an influential network and so on. See the relation. And the same is with the education. So the educational capital, you know, also influences your you know, access to the internet. You find the information suitable for you and so on. And by having this, your education increases because you learn more things. And to support my, you know, my argument, I can give you some, you know, statistics from Romania, from Eurostat.
Okay, quick.
But it's only, sorry?
Quickly, come on.
Quickly. It's related to education only. So for educated people, 9 in 10 have access to the internet. For the average educated, 7 in 8. And for the lower, can you guess how many? 1 in 2.
Really? Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's 22. That's 2020.
Yeah,
Eurostat.
and so then that would lead to the divide increasing, as you were saying.
Yeah, so we have to do something about educating people.
Yeah,
probably through
I
education.
think coming from Norway, we have a very the access to the internet is very, very widespread. So we're probably in a bit of a different situation. But if you're thinking globally, then your situation is even more critical because the differences between the haves and the have-nots.
Generally speaking, you know, our place is high in terms of accessibility, but in terms of skills and usage and frequency, I think we have a problem here.
Okay. Yep. Giletta, would you like to say something? Thank you. Would you like to say something about the situation in Lithuania, or how you see the situation globally?
You know, I see that situation. I fully agree with the Elsa's point of view, because as I see, digital divide for me equals to digital inequality. And digital inequality, it reinforces economic and social inequality, and everything is, you know, interrelated both ways. So I fully agree with Elsa.
Thanks. We go to the final question then. And a lot of you have touched on this already today. We've talked a lot about COVID with Elsa's project in Romania and how people have had to overnight go online. But have you seen any specific examples of how COVID has affected social media use between the generations? Laura, should we go with you there?
Yeah, in our daily lives, we can see so many examples of like the businesses and schools and everything has had to go online. Even me personally, I have to work from home and I have to use more social media, but it's also for other people, and that doesn't mean it doesn't depend on the age, but other generations. And I remember when we were leading the training course, the persons who decided to take part, they said that before they know how to use social media like Facebook, but they didn't know like some things that they have to do, and they usually gave those tasks to other younger people to do, and because they were afraid to do themselves. And now they're like we're taking part in this our training course to take those tasks from those younger people who do themselves. And so this is also like encouraging them motivation to be more social skilled people.
Good. Thanks, Laura. Frosty, I think I'll give you the last word there. Well, have you seen any effects?
Well, overall, the figures tells us that social media activity is up, but we've seen some with the emerging COVID situation last year. We saw just online activity in general increased, and we saw a spike in Google searches and search behavior. We saw spikes in online sale, and a lot of both businesses and people in general, they sort of were forced to go more online and be more like thoughtful about their online behavior. And from a marketing point of view, companies are forced to, you know, basically step up the game in terms of, you know, online shopping, for example. But also they, you know, they woke up from a very quiet dream where like, oh, we need to actually reach out to people in more ways. We need to think, you know, we need to think beyond our traditional approaches. So that definitely influenced, you know, online and social behavior, both across individuals and businesses. So definitely, and I think that's something which is just gonna, we're gonna move forward from here. We're not going back to where we were. So that's also important to know.
No, it's going to be a lasting change. Okay, thank you so much. I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you, Giletta and Laura and Elsa and Frosty.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.